So I think we should all be rearing to go. Where's it saying record?
It's recording. Well, it
Recording?
says it on mine.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we are on the second new webinar, and we've got a great host of people in the background here. And, but
the hardcore ones.
The hardcore, yeah, hardcore. And so I just thought I'd do this presentation. So I'll go through it, and if you want to hop in while I'm going or ask any questions or make any comments, please do so. So what I'm talking about is the state of mind and the three principles. And we're looking at wise thinking and contaminated thinking. And hopefully I'll explain it as we go along. So, all right, what's happening there? Go. Yeah. What's happening? Here we go. So, state of mind. So I guess, you know, state of mind is sort of everything really, isn't it? In the sense of how we are in the world. And state of mind is I'm either sort of up the top of this line. I think I've got another arrow here. Well, I'm up at the top or I'm down the bottom. And I guess our state of mind can go up and down for all sorts of reasons, you know, just whether we got enough sleep last night, or there's all sorts of things going on in our life, or we're in a very happy state and everything's going well, or we're just the opposite, we're down the bottom and we're not in a happy state. So anywhere on that up and down thing we can be in a state of mind, and we do go up and down from day to day, and that's a given. So so I'm going to add to that the mind, thought and consciousness, so state of mind, and we've talked a lot about that, so I won't go too much into mind, thought and consciousness, but there it is. It ties up on there, and it has to do everything with our state of mind, because our state of mind comes through mind, thought and consciousness, and that's the only way we make sense of the world and our state of mind, by those three principles. And wow, look at that. So this is the consciousness elevator, and I guess where our consciousness is, or whether we're conscious of what's going on, or the more aware we are, the more likely we are to be higher up this elevator. And I guess if you think about an elevator, if I was in the basement and the door's open, I'd just be faced with a brick wall or a concrete wall, and that's all I'd see. That would be my reality of looking out on the world. I just see this brick wall. But as we go up the elevator, we can see more, we can experience more. I like the old penthouse at the top there. You know, so it's, from the penthouse, you can sort of see everything, and everything's well with the world, and well, maybe not, but you know, it's better up there than it is down in the basement, I'm guessing. And Sid Banks said there's an infinite amount of levels on this elevator. That there's not just, you know, X amount of floors. Every one of us has an infinite way of experiencing the consciousness elevator. And some days we're more conscious, and some days we're less conscious. And I just want to go through that. So again, we're up and down on there. We travel up and down on this, and when we're up the top, we might call this wise thinking. So when I'm high on this conscious elevator, I have much more access to my wise thoughts, my innate well-being, all my options and stuff like that, and more access. When I'm down the bottom here, I'm going to call this contaminated thinking. So it's contaminated by all sorts of things, and it's not usually useful thinking. And I'd say, you know, there's a line there. So below that line, I can be into contaminated thinking. Above that line, I'm more likely to use my wise thinking. And given that wise thinking is innate, we were born with it. That's our default to be in this place. And when we're not doing that, we're using thinking to contaminate our state of mind, I suppose. And what I'd say, when we're above that line, we're more conscious, and when we're below that line, we're more unconscious. So a lot of the stuff that goes on underneath there is in our unconscious. And so that's sort of a darker area, if you like. And I'll put another line up here because what tends to happen, I think, when we're up here or down here, if I'm up the top here, I have a lot more wisdom. You can see that line. There's a lot more wisdom available to me. A lot of my innate well-being through my through being up there and being able to access my wise thinking. When I'm down here, as you can see that line goes, there's less wisdom. And just by being down here, it's more difficult to contact my wisdom. And likewise, the more further I am down here, the more contamination, the deeper I get down here, the worse it is down here, that I got less options, I can't see much, life sucks and everything else, you know, I can be victim down here and all sorts of things. And again, when I'm up here, I have less contamination and a lot more wisdom. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, do children work in this less wisdom area? You know, more unconscious, less wisdom?
Well, no, I think
not the contaminated area, but
I think they're usually attached to their wisdom more than we are. I think when they're young, they just say things that are in front of them, and you know they don't get all caught up in their feelings. I suppose when they're throwing a tantrum, it's probably when they go down here. You know, but that. They can throw a tantrum and they're down here and then all of a sudden they're out there again in 2 seconds or 5 minutes. They don't carry on, whereas we can tend to get caught down here.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense?
Yep. Yeah.
So, look at that. Geez, the graphics are fantastic. Oh, what do you reckon?
They are amazing in this webinar.
So down here, and I think up here, but I have thoughts down here, and I have feelings, and you know my thoughts and my feelings are attached to each other. So down here, when I'm down here, I'm more contaminated thinking. My feelings tend to get very intense, unhelpful feelings, and the more I think, the more I feel, and the worse I feel, the more I think, and so it goes backwards and forwards. Can you hear Buster in the background? Shut up.
Yeah, you've got sound effects too.
Sound effects too, yeah. So this thinking tends to be usually often past thinking. I'll go and shut the studio door. Excuse me, one minute.
Children or animals, isn't it?
Yeah, kids and animals, I reckon, don't work with.
That's right.
So we were just saying, don't work with kids and animals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The actor's creed, yeah.
Yeah.
So this thinking, this contaminated thinking, often comes from past. You know, we've had an issue in the past that we either haven't resolved or got over, or it keeps coming up, and we bring it into the present. And so often we bring past thinking up. And if you bring in past thinking up, that's a great memory and something you enjoyed, well, great, you're more likely to be up here. But if you're bringing past thinking in, which we often do, which is maybe unresolved or resentments or all sorts of things, that contaminates our present. And often future thinking is the same. You know, people getting very anxious about, oh, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, and what if this happens, and what if this happens, and going out there. And of course, it's all illusionary. It's all made up, isn't it? Because none of us can tell what the future is going to be like. And you know, I was asking the question the other day. You know, how many of you have been worried about the future for some reason or another, and it's never happened? You know, it's just. I mean, we can all do that, I think, and get really worried about the future, and that's where anxiety comes from, of course, future thinking, and making up what's going and making it worse than probably it's going to be, or focusing on that. And the other thing about that thinking, it's very unreliable, because when we're down here, we're not feeling great, and we're acting out of our not feeling okay, these intense feelings, and often we're compulsed to do things because of these intense feelings. And a lot of this thinking down here can be habitual. It might be stuff I've generated over the years, from my family, or from experiences, or from being shamed, or experiences that didn't work out very well with me, we lose confidence, all sorts of things. So when we bring this habitual thinking back into our present, that can have a profound effect and keep us stuck down in this area. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the outcomes here, I think, is low mood. So I don't feel very good then. When I'm caught up in this stuff, I may not know because a lot of it might be unconscious. I might not even know why I'm feeling in low mood, but it may be often there's something to do with our thinking. I can tend to be much more reactive when I'm down here. So something happens, and because I'm feeling tense and uptight and not well, in a low mood, I tend to be more reactive. So normally I'd let things go or notice them and move on, but down here I tend to do less of that. And there's a lot of insecurity down here because I'm not feeling good. I'm not noticing all the good things in the world, so I can feel quite insecure. And I think when these feelings get really intense, I can almost feel compulsed to act on them. It's not like there's not a lot of thinking goes on, but I'm at the tip of the iceberg, if you like, and it doesn't take much to set me off. I'm raring to go with anything particularly negative. A lot of anxiety, of course, when I bring contaminated thinking into my present, and I'm thinking about the future, I can get quite anxious about that. I can be very judgmental down here. Instead of seeing the other person as a 10 or a really neat person and them having their own issues, that they're living in their reality, and I don't know what their reality is like, but I can become very judgmental about their reality, and because it's not how I want it to be. And I think when I'm down here, I just have less choices. I don't have access to this wise thinking. I'm sort of stuck down here, and I don't have too many choices. So I'm coming out my habits. So is that making sense?
Yeah.
Does it sound reasonable?
Yes.
You've experienced that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Haven't we all? Yeah.
Never.
No. No. And so on the opposite end of that, this thinking up here is in the present. We've talked a lot about that. If we're not using contaminated thinking from the past or the future, we can be more in the present. And that's the only place any of us can live. The only place we can live is right here, having this conversation. We can't live anywhere else. No? So being in the present more often and catching yourself in the present and noticing when contaminated thinking coming in is really what the 3 principles is all about. Not necessarily, I'm still going to visit this, and it's okay, but the more I can bring myself back into the present, the more useful that is. And I think when I'm in my wise thinking mode, which is my natural way of being, I can be much more insightful. I was reading this book today about this invisible power, insight principles at work. And they were talking a lot about business stuff and how they work with businesses that get caught up in either the politics or no, we've always done it this way, or we've got to do this, and they get ground in that, and it takes them down in that contaminated thinking, and they get less insightful. And when they've worked with like some of these multi-million-dollar companies, and they've helped the decision makers to get more insightful, to have access to their wise thinking, if you like, amazing things have happened. There's one particular thing I was reading today, and they saved themselves $40 million. Whereas as 2 weeks before they'd done the training, they just couldn't get past this situation was impossible. There was no way of resolving it. And after a couple of weeks training in this, they not only resolved it, but they made an extra $40 million on top. So,
Yeah.
And I think this also thinking is about impersonal. It's not about me, and it's not about you. I can stand back and see it for what it is. It's not about you know, that impersonal thing, and I'll make a generality there. I think women often have more issues with that because they're so connected and they're so they're much more into harmony and things going. So I think women often, that's a generalisation. I don't like generalisations, but I'm going to generalise that women have more trouble being impersonal about this because they're not impersonal creatures. They're very personal creatures, and so I think men can do impersonal easier. But you know, when you see the value of stepping back from the situation and say, well, this is not about me and it's not about the other person, it just is, and I can step back from that and I don't take it personally, then it's a much better perspective. And I think when you're up in that wise thinking, it's far easier to do that, step back and say, well, actually, this is not mine. This person's having a go at me and going off, and that's really nothing to do with me, and I'm okay. I think we can be more proactive up here. So we just get on and do things because we have more availability to all the good things that go on for us. And I think we can be a lot more solution focused. So any thoughts about that? Any comments?
Had a good experience of the impersonal this week.
Right.
And last week. And it was definitely a lot easier to deal with within myself. And I think I was able to do that because I was so busy that I didn't have time to be personal.
There you go.
So it's actually quite helpful.
Yeah.
Actually, funnily enough, it's probably that one that I find if I'm thinking about a situation, I take it more personally, but if it's in front of me and I'm having to deal with it, especially talking to somebody, I am actually able to be a little bit more impersonal.
Okay. It's an interesting thing to notice, isn't it? So yeah. So at times that works really well for you. You can do it easily, and other times it's not so easy. Yeah. So I think the outcomes of this wise thinking, I think we tend to be in a high mood more often because, hey, you know, things are going well. I'm in the present, I'm enjoying life, things are going well. So I'm more likely to be in a high mood, not necessarily, but I probably have more energy up there. I can see the world a little better. I'm much higher up on this consciousness. I'm closer to the penthouse, if you like, so life looks a bit better and feels a bit better. I think up here I can tend to have more clarity about things. I get really clear about what's happening for me and what's happening for other people. I can be more compassionate, I think, when I'm up in this area, and especially when I'm in that impersonal thing, I can go, oh, this person's acting like a wally or saying some weird things or whatever, and then I think, oh yeah, well, I wonder what's going on in their life. I have no idea what's happening in their life, so I can tend to be a bit have a lot more clarity about picking up what's going on for other people and not buying into it necessarily. I can tend to be a lot more responsive up here rather than reactive, so something happens and I can respond to it rather than being compulsed to defend myself or go off about something. And I think in this area up here, there's that whole inflow experience where life is just cruising along and going well. And you know, I think in the program we talked about that river being inflow in the river and just going wherever the water goes, because water flows wherever it needs to go. And if we're doing that, we can be very much inflow. And if you think about on the right-hand bank is chaos. So if I go more over to that side of the river, there's chaos over there, and on the other side of the river, there's rigidity. And sometimes we go from side to side of that river, you know, from chaos to rigidity, from rigidity to chaos, and yet when we're in flow and we're going down the river and we just, you know, there might be rapids, there might be all sorts of things, but I know I can just flow through that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I tend to be more in flow here. I usually have a clearer and a calmer mind because you know, there's not too many thoughts going through there. I'm aware of my thoughts and I know that I can change them at any time. which leads to me having more choices. And I like this word freedom. I think it brings me a lot more freedom to be who I am, to not particularly worry about what anybody else thinks of me, to enjoy life. And I think that's what we were born for, not to do the other stuff. So I think...
I do have a question,
yes,
Dad, about that. When I'm in that, so-called wise thinking, I'm not sure if it's wise for me, but anyway, it's I get really excited. You know what I'm like. I get really excited.
Really, don't you?
And a little bit over the top. But I'm certainly not in a low mood. But and I get quite clear. But then I want to do all sorts of exciting things.
Yes.
So I don't do the calm mind or the inflow, but I definitely have more choices. And I'm definitely responsive.
Yeah. So when you get into that place, you get sort of, I wouldn't call it overexcited, but you get very passionate and excited about things, don't you? And sort of,
yes.
It's sort of out of balance in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally out of balance.
Not a bad way to be out of balance, but out of balance. So, I mean, you better be out of balance up here than out of balance down here, I reckon.
Yeah. But there's no sort of like calmness about it.
No.
But that's still up the top there, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. It's according to whom, yeah. If you feel better, if you're definitely, I mean, because you're of your excitement, you're quite infectious with other people and you enjoy their company. And, you know, it seems to me that's a much better place to be up here, even though it might be out of control. You know, so.
I might put them in a low mood, though, because I might be a bit draining.
You might do too. Well, I hadn't noticed that with you. Most people tend to respond to your infectiousness and enjoy what's going on. And as long as you don't want them to agree with you necessarily.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't have to go along with your craziness, do they?
Yeah, that's true. They don't have to join in. Yeah.
No.
I guess that's what the wise thinking, where the wise thinking comes in, isn't it? That that's your journey, not anyone else's.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can be, you know, that freedom it brings you to be over the top and expressive and off the planet, and it's okay, eh?
Yeah.
Whether anybody else likes it is not your problem, really.
No.
So I think if we're experiencing life from the outside in, we tend to spend more of our time down the bottom here. It's like I'm victim, things are foisted on me, people upset me, people make me mad. You know, it's always somebody else that's causing my problem or some situation. So I think living in an outside-in world, which we've all been brought up with, tends to get more of this. I think when we experience life from the inside out, we tend to experience much more of this. That we're aware of what's going on. We know that every experience that we're coming from is from our thought. We're creating that moment by moment, and of course the feelings that go along with that. We can be well aware that that's just to do with me. My state of mind's got nothing to do with anybody else. And I'm my own creator. And if I was producing a film, I'd be the scriptwriter, and I'd be the cameraman, and I'd be the stunt, and I'd be the main actor, and probably take ice creams around in half time. And you know, I am everything really, and it's all coming from inside, and none of it's coming from outside. So I create all that myself. Yeah. So you know, yes. I think when we're up here, and you know, you talked about your infection when you're in that space, don't you? You do radiate a whole load of joy and fun, don't you? Even though it might be sort of. It might be...
people might run away.
Well, they might do. But, you know...
wonder what you're on.
Yeah,
they do absolutely wonder what I'm on.
Yeah, what have you been taking today? But you do,
Yeah.
you know, when you're up in that place, you tend to radiate out more, don't you? And more well-being. I think it's just a happier place to be, a much more useful place to be, not only for you, but for other people, really. When we're down the bottom here, it tends to be, you know, frazzled, and it's dark and it's uncomfortable, and not the best place to be. So we can experience both of those things. I think the whole thing about the 3 principles is noticing that I will be in both places. I can be in both places, and I can be up the top, I can be down the bottom. But the more I'm aware of that, the more able I am to move out of my contaminated thinking up to my wise thinking. And as soon as I do that, I experience something different.
I tend to get down there once I've exhausted myself from the top.
Well, that's the other thing, isn't it? You can bounce up and down on that. You go hell for leather. Don't sleep, and you know, put yourself in pain and all sorts of things, and it's really easy to dive down into that bottom place, isn't it, when you're in that place? Same for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
So I wonder how you might change that. And probably you don't want to, but
would be a little bit helpful. Well, I recognise when I come down to the bottom, but a little bit quicker.
Right.
Actually.
Yeah. So you're noticing that more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you're down there, you have to. That's the time to be noticing this just has to do with you and no one else. It's not that you're to blame or you're making it happen. It's created by you, isn't it? And for whatever reason, if you're up the top and you're going spinning off the planet and you knock yourself around and you dive down into that bottom bit, doesn't have to do with anybody else, does it? Really?
No.
It's all yours.
I know, it's crazy. It's exhausting.
So, what did you think of my PowerPoint presentation? That's good.
I think that's amazing.
Groovy, eh? Seeing as a few weeks ago, I didn't know how to even use PowerPoint, so
I know. I thought that was very clever.
Very pleased. So I'm getting more into that now, and the other thing is, I think I could do a lot more of this stuff in a brief way, that I could just send a little 3 or 4 minute sort of presentation to people. And most of the stuff could, not in this case so much, but could just be, you know, listened to rather than watched. I mean, a lot of videos, you don't have to watch them. It's just people talking. So I think I could do a lot of shorter things that I could send out to people. And for argument's sake, I was looking at this. Let's see if I can find this. I've got it on
That
Kindle.
explains that really well, though, I think, for me. Right. I don't know about you, Tony, but that explains a lot for me quite clearly.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's quite useful, isn't it? And when you notice this line up here, you just have a lot more access. The higher you go, the more aware you are that you have more access to this wise thinking, which is innate in you, you know, in all of us. It's not special to anybody. It's just we've all got it. And you know times when you're really in the flow and things are going well and it's easy to make decisions, and it's a great place to be. And I'm not sure that we can stay there all the time, but
that would actually be quite good on your fridge or something, because then you could just go, oh, am I up here or am I down here, and just, you know. Well,
the good thing is I can send that to you. How about that?
That would be cool. Yeah.
Would be, actually,
I think if you just see it all in one go, it's like, oh well. But once you've actually worked your way through it, you can get what it's talking about. But if I just put that in front of someone without going through the process, it might be a bit challenging.
Yeah. But so for me, it would just remind me to go, you know. Oh.
Yeah. Am I above the line or below the line?
Yeah.
Good. So, okay, I just thought, how are we going for time? So, So, is there anything you want to ask questions on or share at this stage about what you've noticed during the week, or any comments about this?
Not really.
Right.
Well, I did have a situation with a teacher that, you know, had an issue. I had talked to Dad, Tony, but she had apparently an issue thinking I was upset with her, and I had no idea. But I just had a crazy week, and with one particular child, and it was the child that was in her class. We all had a difficult situation with this child, and we're all trying to manage him, but there's 4 of us trying to manage him, and we all need to communicate, but we're all getting, you know, different things from different people, and we all need to connect. But we're also all very busy. But so when we're talking, it's not, you know, we're talking factual or whatever. And at times I'm talking to her, but I've also got other kids that I'm sort of dealing with. She's got other kids she's dealing with, so that was that. But she went away for the weekend thinking I had an issue with her, so I found out through one of the other teacher aides. And what I normally would have done in the past was, knowing that, have gone up to her and say, "Oh, I hear you've got you think you've got I've got an issue with you." Well, not at all, you know, this is what's going on. But I thought, actually, that is not my problem. She has the problem. She could quite easily come up to me and ask me, and we'd sort it out. But I don't need to take that on board, because normally I do. I try to sort everything out and make it all peaceful and lovely and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't. And I was also okay with that, because normally I hold on to that as well. But I didn't, because, again, I didn't have the energy or the mental capacity for it, which is quite helpful. And then on the Monday, she did ask me. She did say she had a terrible weekend because she thought I had an issue with her, and I said, absolutely not. I would not at all have an issue. We've all had a hard week. And I said, what would be really helpful is, if you ever do in the future, just come up and ask, because I wouldn't, and if I did, I would come to you and say, can we sort something out? Because that's what I find helpful, and that's the type of person that I am. And I said, and then you would have had a better weekend.
Yeah,
And we both had a bit of a laugh, and she said, oh, thank goodness. And it was a big growth for me, because I normally try and fix everything and make it all okay when I've heard from other people things, and I didn't. So it did help that I couldn't actually do it, but it was really helpful for me, and it did help me grow quite a bit last week, to let go of stuff.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And maybe an eye-opener for her that she spent a horrible week thinking, oh, you know, when it didn't even exist. There's no problem.
Yeah. And it totally didn't exist. It was just a surprise.
Yeah, so I suppose we can all get into that place, can't we? Thinking something's going on for another person, or the way we've experienced it wasn't okay for us, but may have no issue about it whatsoever. And so, yeah. Oh,
and that's what I said to her. I've done it heaps of times. I've done that loads of times, and just wished I'd sort of said something to someone. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So helpful.
So I just thought I'd come across this book called Invisible Power: Insight Principles at Work. Everyone's hidden in a capacity, by a guy called Ken Manning, Robin Charbit, and Sandra Crott. And it's talking about the human mind. And I thought I might just read that. Is that okay? We're all right for a few minutes? Yeah, so here's a quote from Sydney Banks. He said, when you start to see the power of thought and its relationship to your way of observing life, you will better understand yourself and the world in which you live. And then he goes on to say in the book, here are 3 important points we hope you understand after reading this book. Your mind works only one way. Point 2, your mind has a built-in design for success. Your mind has a built-in design for success. And point 3, your life will be more productive, enjoyable, and fulfilling the more deeply you realise the living truth of the first 2 points. And then there's a heading, your mind works only one way. There are certain things about life, about us, and about our world that fall into the following category. Things that are true, whether we know them directly or not. As an example, humanity was once convinced that the Earth was flat. We also unwittingly believed our planet to be the centre of the universe. Of course, as we know now, the Earth is round, revolves around the Sun, and is just one speck of matter in a mind-bogglingly huge cosmos. These facts were true even before we fully understood them. Gravity is another example of something that is true whether we realise it or not. We didn't always understand gravity, and we rarely think about it in our day-to-day lives, but it's always there, operating behind the scenes, causing things to fall and keeping our feet on the ground. Gravity is an invisible and powerful fact in your life. It is one example of how a force can have immense influence, and yet you cannot see it. The invisible force operating within your mind, the invisible forces operating within your mind are perhaps even more powerful than gravity. There are important truths about the human mind that exist and function within you, whether or not you know them consciously. These truths are present with you right now. These truths about the way that your mind works are like the examples we've just mentioned. They are true and already operating behind the scenes. Realising their presence in your life will change your understanding of the world. Your mind is the generator of your experience. Drawing on an unlimited source of creative energy, your thinking gets crafted from within, bringing you everything you see, sense, and feel in every moment. In other words, your moment-to-moment experience of life happens within you. It is created from the inside out. Your mind always has and always will work this way. The dynamics we are describing are the basic mechanics behind perception. We are referring to the fact that you think. We're not commenting on what you think or experience at any moment. We are simply describing the way it works. Your perceptions and feelings do not happen to you. They are created within you. They are thoughts in action brought to life in your consciousness. It is impossible to experience something without your thinking being involved. You won't see a beautiful sunset if your mind is not focused on it. You won't hear a subtle sound like the wind outdoors, the refrigerator humming, or a fan in the ventilation system, unless your thoughts are directing your senses towards them. Without thought, a particular sense, impression, feeling, image, or idea cannot be part of your experience. You are no doubt aware of yourself as a thinker to some degree and know that you use your thinking to manage your life every day. We are pointing to a subtle, deeper and invisible level at which the power of thought operates. It happens so fast that you may never realise it. The principle of thought shapes your inner life and what you experience in your senses. Because it is so unnoticed, you can easily mistake the source of your experience and the feelings to be other people or external circumstances. It is easy to assume that your thinking is not involved in your perceptions, and you can fall into another common but even more insidious trap. You create realities in your mind and think they exist in the world, not recognising that they are just your thoughts. They give an example here, but I'll skip that. When we say your mind works only one way, or that you experience life from the inside out, we are pointing to the basic fact that your thinking is the sole source of your experiences. We are also pointing to the fact that it is not logical that anything outside your mind can make you experience something without your own thinking being involved. Food for thought, eh?
Oh my God, I just had a big mind-blowing experience.
Oh, did it hurt?
Because I did. Because I always have trouble letting go of stuff, you know, like just letting go. So you just let go. And I never know how it happens, but when you just said stuff goes on, whether you believe it or not, it's going to still happen. So why fight it? It's just going to happen anyway. So just stop fighting it.
Yeah.
For me, that was really big. I don't know how to explain that, but it was just really just Get on with it.
Well,
I don't know how to explain it. It's not
No.
that simple, but it's going to be happening anyway.
yes.
You know, like, yeah, I'm not quite sure how to explain it.
You are going to be thinking, whether you even notice it or not. No? And your thoughts create your reality every moment. And also,
Yeah.
you know, your feelings are tied up with those thoughts. So the only way you can have a lousy feeling is to have a lousy thought.
But
You know?
for me, it's like stop trying to figure out how that works and just.
It just is, yeah. Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah, and there's
I
a
think
freedom.
that's what it is. It just is.
There's a freedom in that, isn't there? Just well, I don't have to analyse it or unpack it or do anything with it. I just have to notice that it is.
Yeah, that analyze paralyze thing made sense now because
Yeah.
it just is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yes.
going to keep happening anyway. So, really,
Yeah.
why try and figure it out?
Yeah. Mm. Good.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's sometimes when you have those ahas yourself, it's hard to put into words to explain, but you don't have to, do you? As long as
No.
you're getting it, and then whatever it means for you, that's the main thing. Yeah, because we'll all do that differently. Yeah. Someone will hear us
It's
that and
taken
go,
quite a few courses to get to that point.
well, your father was a slow learner, so it's probably likely.
Yeah. I take the long way round.
And I think the beautiful thing about that is it just keeps happening, doesn't it? You know, that as long as we're aware of these things and we're and conscious of our thoughts, then it probably speeds it up a little bit because we get more ahas and more insights and quicker and faster. But not always. I mean, you know, and sometimes I'm just not in the place to be open to that. Other times it's like really easy, and I think that's just part of being human, isn't it? Yeah. Excellent.
Exciting.
Excellent.
Oh no, there goes another night of no sleep.
I was feeling quite sleepy.
Yeah.
Oh no, she's off again. Oh god, she's gonna get excited. No.
Yeah.
No, we're not allowed all these snow globes going on.
No.
No.
Not at this time of night, anyway. No.
No.
I just wrote down when you were talking, your mind is the generator of your experience. That's I suppose that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, and just accepting that that's true. It is a truth, isn't it? You know, like we can't experience anything outside of ourselves. We're creating it all the time, and it comes from inside. And I think we've all been brought up in the outside-in world, and looking at this has caused my unhappiness or my happiness, or this is, and yet it's all being generated from inside. And I think that's the big paradigm shift. I think from the outside in to the inside out. Really, it's not like that at all. And yet that's the way the world operates mostly, isn't it? You know, very much so. You know, it's all about, look what you did to me, or if you hadn't said that in that particular tone of voice, I'd be happy, and you know, blah, 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 on it goes. Shortland Street all over again.
Yeah.
So sorry, Tony.
I'm very aware that I was actually brought up by my parents were very inward looking. And I mean, my dad's passed away, but my mum's still alive. But she has she doesn't have the ability to really empathise with people outside of herself. It's just everything that's happening is all with her, and I try to turn things around for her, but she just she can't see it.
No. For her, that's just the way life is, isn't it?
That's right. All she wanted to do was get to 80, and she kept talking about it. And I said to my sister, I'm worried that Mum's going to get to 80, and that's going to be it. Because she can't see further than that. So I said to her, well, okay, well, Mum, what happens when you get to 80? And she knew that we were going to have a celebration, but as far as her life was concerned, well, she had absolutely no idea.
No, it didn't exist in her mind after 80. Probably.
No, she felt that was a good thing that she got to 80, but heck, you know, there's still life after 80.
Definitely, yeah.
Mm.
And that's that sort of, I guess, mind we can all get fixed in, and it's so limiting, isn't it? That's it, and yet we have this capacity to have all sorts of thoughts and different things. I was talking to a couple today, and they got stuck on this one thing, you know, and making a decision about that. And I said, well, you could, this thing that you're thinking, you know, that they were having a bit of a trying to sort it out between themselves, and they were stuck on it. They couldn't see anything outside that. And I said, well, you could do this, couldn't you? Oh, yeah, I suppose we could, you know, and you could do this. Well, yeah, I don't think I'd like to do that, but no, but you could, you know, it's another choice. Well, and you could do this. And suddenly they just opened up and said, yeah, why are we stuck on this? Because there's all these possibilities, but we've got caught up in this one thing. And so I think that, you know, when we're more up in that access to our wise mind, there's a lot more possibilities there, a lot more freedom to go, well, yeah, I could do this or I could do that. And in fact, I could do all these things, because what they came to at the end of the session was whatever they chose to do, they would be fine. You know?
Yeah.
It was just getting off of, oh no, that couldn't happen, and we wouldn't be okay doing that. Well, yes, you would. You'd make it work. And for her, she got stuck in this. I can't make a decision, you know, because if I do this will happen. If I do that, and she's stuck in that, which is it's a horrible place to be, because you're sort of like treading water, isn't it? And you can't make a decision. You can't move forward. You can't move back. And I think today they just exploded that and said, well, we could do anything, and you know, we could make it work, whatever it was. And yes, there's always pros and cons about that, isn't there?
Yeah.
But it's going back to the thinking again, that they don't know. None of us know. You know, they're getting all caught up in the future, and they don't know what the future looks like. You know, it's like, and so, you know, be back in the present. You can still make. Doesn't mean to say you can't make plans and you can't look forward to things, or you know, none of that, does it? You can still do all of that.
Yeah.
But do it in the present rather than get caught up out in the future there about how bad it's going to be or how good it's going to be. Yeah. So what's been useful about tonight?
Lots.
Good.
I just can't say really, but heaps.
Good. Yeah. So I'm hoping these, you know, whether the people that are not here, it's that echo again. Shut up.
Yeah.
It just comes and goes. It's really weird. So I think, you know, I'm hoping that I sent this out last week. I was a bit late in sending it out, but I'm going to finish this off now and try and get it in the mail tomorrow. So the people that weren't here at least will be able to have the opportunity to listen. So that's the good thing about it. Yeah. But I might try and have a few conversations with people about this, and you know, like, I know we're all time poor, and there's other people who live different lives and stuff like that. And I guess at the end, if they get to watch this, we're still succeeded. So that's the main thing.
But I find it so refreshing. I don't know about you, Tony, but I find it really refreshing for my next few days. If I've taken this hour out for myself, just to, I don't know, focus on something like this, it's actually refreshes my brain or me or whatever.
Yeah. I think one thing that I know I could do that would make a little bit of a difference is just readdress the information that we got when we did the course, just so I'm in the right thinking zone again.
Right.
And then I think that my mind might not be quite so just focused on what we're talking about, but because I've already thought about it, it allows me to think a little bit wider at the time.
Right.
Mm.
Great. All right. Well, time's just about up, and I want to keep to time. So thank you for being here. Otherwise, I would have been talking to myself.
Oh,
Again.
you do that quite often.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And okay, so I shall be here next Wednesday.
Yes.
And I don't expect you guys to turn up every Wednesday, but it's wonderful that you do. Because, yeah, it's good to have the interaction, and your sharing, I think, is very, very helpful too. Not only to me, but I think sometimes to people that might be listening. Yeah. So thank you.
Very enjoyable. Thanks for my aha moment. Toodaloos.
Have a great week. Have a magic week.
You too. See you, Tony.
See you next week.
Thanks, Dad.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay.